Well, we can't ignore it any longer. The CDC has extended the conditional sailing order into January of next year. Royal Caribbean releases new protocols for cruisers in November. One major cruise line is holding a contest, and they'll allow you to design artwork for the hull of their newest cruise ship. Well, our cruisers from down under, yes, Australia, there is a little bit of light at the end of your tunnel as it relates to the restart of cruising. I'll give you all the details you need to know. Plus, Carnival Corporation-owned Costa Cruises has just completed a successful sea trial of their newest flagship vessel. All this coming up on Midships. Hey, welcome to the Midships YouTube channel. I'm your Captain Corey. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. A little bit of housekeeping before we hop into today's cruise news. Don't forget, this week's cruise swag giveaway is going on until this Friday at noon Eastern Time. If you'd like your chance to be entered to win the over-the-door organizer for your cruise cabin, as well as your choice of cruise line specific luggage tag holders, all you have to do is follow the link in the description below. If you're watching on a mobile device, I'll pin it in this upper right-hand corner. If you're curious about any of the cruise swag we give away here on the channel, there are Amazon affiliate links down in my description below. While you're down there, I'd ask you to give a big thumbs up if you're a huge fan of cruising. Now let's hop into some cruise news, and our first story comes from MSC Cruises. They have a brand new cruise ship on the horizon, and they're holding a contest to design the artwork for the hull on their new cruise ship. Let's learn a little bit more about it from cruiseradio.net by Sarah Bretz. MSC Cruises launches design contest for the hull of their upcoming cruise ship. MSC Cruises has announced the opportunity for artists and designers around the world to transform the hull of its upcoming ship, the MSC Eurybia, into a giant floating canvas. The design contest, which opens today, is the first for the cruise line and involves the goal of communicating the importance of respect for the environment. Eurybia will be MSC's most environmentally advanced ship to date and is named after the ancient goddess of Eurybia, who harnessed the winds, weather, and constellations to master the seas. And as you can see, the Eurybia follows a ton of the design language and cues from the current existing MSC fleet. Today's announcement, which coincides with International Artist Day, calls on artists to create a unique artwork inspired by the seas. The winner's artwork will be featured as a permanent design across the ship's hull, much like the designs that can be seen on the hulls of Norwegian Cruise Line ships. The Eurybia is scheduled to enter service in 2023 and become the second liquefied natural gas powered ship in the cruise line's fleet. So if you have a knack for design and would like to get entered into this contest, I will leave a link in the description below. And as usual, there are also links to all the stories we'll cover in today's episode. Now, avid cruisers will know that the Carnival Corporation owns some sub-brands, and one of those is called Costa Cruises. Well, they have a new flagship that's just undergone sea trials, and I'd like to tell you a little bit more about her. From cruiseindustrynews.com, Costa Toscana completes successful sea trial program. The new Costa Toscana has completed a successful set of sea trials. This is another key step towards the delivery of the ship, slated for December of 2021. If you'd like to sail aboard the Toscana, she will be homeported in Savona, Italy, and her first cruise is scheduled for March 5th of 2022. And following her debut, Costa Toscana is scheduled to sail Mediterranean itineraries for the majority of the year. Well, of course, just after I released yesterday's Midships episode, the CDC goes and drops a bomb about the conditional sailing order. And I'm sure you've heard a lot about it from other people on the interwebs, but let's go ahead and give you the Midships take. From cruiseradio.net by Doug Parker. CDC extends conditional sailing order into January of 2022. Yesterday, the CDC announced that it would be extending the framework for conditional sailing order, CSO, through January 15th of 2022. The original order was set to expire in just a few days on November 21st, and includes the same stipulations including in the original order issued in October of 2020, with minor modifications. And of note, this new extension remains in effect until one of the three following things occurs: the expiration of Secretary of Health and Human Services declaration that COVID-19 is a public health emergency, the CDC director rescinds or modifies the order based on new public health considerations, or the date reaches January 15th of 2022. A statement from the CDC reads, after the expiration of the temporary extension and modification of the CSO, the CDC intends to transition to a voluntary program in coordination with cruise ship operators and other stakeholders to assist the cruise industry to detect, mitigate, and control the spread of COVID aboard cruise ships. And in my personal opinion, I was hoping that November would come and the CSO would be gone, but apparently we have to wait now till January for that. And the reason I'm not really concerned with the CSO is because it's not going to become the Wild West overnight aboard these cruise ships. They've invested heavily into starting back up, and cruise lines aren't about to just let this thing slip away from them. They're going to be keeping a hold of things on board these cruise ships. So honestly, what's the point of the CSO going forward? It's costing taxpayers a ton of extra money that we don't need to be spending. And that's my personal take on it, but of course my opinions are subject to change. Why don't you go ahead and leave yours down in the comments below. Issued on October 30th, 2020, the framework for the CSO was a carryover from the no-sail order issued way back in March of 2020. The order applies to all foreign flag vessels that carry over 250 guests. Sorry, gotta cut in one more time here. March of 2020. That was literally a lifetime ago in pandemic terms. We have learned so much, we have come so far since then. So why are we still operating under conditions that were set way back then when we didn't really have even a basic understanding of what was going on? However, unlike the no-sail order, the CSO was designed to get cruise ships sailing again, using two separate pathways. The first saw cruise operators sailing with fully vaccinated guests. The second option was for ships sailing with both vaccinated and unvaccinated guests, requiring that they conduct simulated voyages overseen and graded by the CDC. After getting the green light from the agency, the cruise ship could sail with paying passengers. At the restart, some cruise lines like NCL, Norwegian Cruise Lines, took a strong stance saying they would only allow vaccinated guests to sail, while Royal Caribbean opted for a mix of vaccinated and unvaccinated guests. Carnival fell on the side of vaccinated sailings only, operating with 95% or more of the guests on board fully vaccinated. Currently, most American cruise lines are requiring guests 12 and older to be vaccinated. Those not eligible to receive the vaccine must get approval from the cruise line before sailing and are required to test negative at the pier before embarkation. A lawsuit earlier this year against the CDC from the state of Florida opened the dialogue between cruise operators and the agency. As of July 23, 2021, the CSO and accompanying measures, such as technical instructions, are non-binding recommendations for cruise ships arriving, located within, or departing from a port in Florida. And just to be clear, I am not anti-CDC or anti-CSO. I think a lot of the guidance that came from the CSO is actually extremely beneficial and has gone a long way to make cruising as safe as it is. So while we're talking about cruise line guidance, we have to talk about Royal Caribbean, as just this week they released new protocols for guests sailing aboard the line in the month of November. From RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com by Matt Hochberg, Royal Caribbean releases November 2021 cruise ship health protocols for US-based sailings. Just hours after the CDC announced an extension of the conditional sailing order, Royal Caribbean released their health protocols for cruises departing the US in November of this year. Guests booked aboard those cruises received an email with the health rules they can expect if sailing on a cruise ship in the month of November. And here is the list of protocols released from Royal Caribbean. All guests 12 and older must be fully vaccinated at least 2 weeks before sailing. Required pre-cruise testing. Guests will need to meet the new requirements recently issued by the CDC. Vaccinated guests 12 and older are required to present a negative COVID test, antigen or PCR, for a test taken no more than 2 days prior to the sailing departure date. Unvaccinated kids between 2 and 11 must show a negative PCR or antigen test taken no more than 3 days before boarding. And please note that for children in this age category, you cannot do your pre-cruise testing on the same day as embarkation. And as usual, there's no testing required for children under the age of 2. The other thing recommended by Royal Caribbean, as well as by myself, Captain Corey of the Midships channel, is to do your testing using the take-home Abbott Binex Now SelfTest Kits. I'll be sure to leave a link in the description below to purchase the Royal Caribbean recommended home test kits. In addition to the pre-cruise testing, children will have to take 1 or 2 additional COVID tests. The first of which will be at the cruise terminal on embarkation day, and the second will be prior to disembarkation. Masking will be required in the terminal and in select locations inside the ship, and may be required at various destinations along the cruise. Anyone under 2 years old does not have to wear a mask. For the main dining room, Royal Caribbean will designate areas for everyone, including parents and unvaccinated children. Mai Tai dining will not be available to parties that include unvaccinated guests. And some specialty restaurants will be open to vaccinated parties only. And don't forget, I'll be sailing on Royal Caribbean's Odyssey of the Seas on November 15th out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So we're going to get to put all these new health and safety protocols to the test, and you'll get to see exactly how it works for a Royal Caribbean cruise. If you made it this far into today's video, why haven't you subscribed to the channel? While you're down there subscribing, why don't you do me a favor and hit a big thumbs up on the channel? Thanks so much for stopping by today, and until tomorrow, we'll see you on the Midships.